Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel for another Escape from Tarkov video. It feels like it's been a while since I said that, and sadly enough, it's been even longer since I really enjoyed saying that. There was a time when every time I typed those words into a script, it meant that I had something creative, helpful, or informative that I wanted to share with people. Other people who really enjoyed this thing that I happen to enjoy. For months now, however, it's been kind of a struggle to scrape the bottom of the barrel for Tarkov content that I think is honestly worth sharing with other people, that provides some new insight, build, or strategy that hasn't been published 17 times on 6 different websites. Tarkov is a very complex game, on the surface at least, and to me, that made creating content a seriously fun experience. The complex problem solving of Tarkov was thrilling when the answers were unknown, but that time is kinda long past. Tarkov doesn't have a lot of unknown factors anymore. That's not to say that there isn't a lot of randomness that you can't predict, but even the randomness of Tarkov has been quantified and put into spreadsheets. Tarkov is a solved equation right now. For almost any given problem, there's a solution that the community has proven is simply more effective than other options, and the information is so readily available that we often mock people for not knowing stuff that would have been considered really obscure knowledge even just a year ago. This game is absolutely packed with content and things to discover, regardless of what anyone says. But I don't think an outsider would get that impression by looking around the community over the past year or two. Take a quick scroll through Tarkov highlight reels, and I guarantee you that you'll see a majority of people running the same handful of loadouts, playing the same maps, going to the same select points of interest, and picking up the same loot over and over, raid after raid, day after day, year after year. Hell, even me, who built a channel around exploring Tarkov's loadout system and the thousands of possibilities it provides, even I can barely bring myself to mess around with anything that isn't tried and true anymore, because every time I do, I instantly regret it, and I feel like I just wasted my time, my money, and my viewers' time after I take another L to 2 rounds of 7.62 BP to the chest. It's really easy to shift all of the blame for this over to Tarkov itself, or to BSG for not having a magical solution to make the game feel fresh and brand new and solve every problem all at once. It's really easy to focus on the so-called golden age of Tarkov and brainwash ourselves into believing that it's just the game changing that caused such a toxic attitude towards the game and the people that have made it, because that conveniently removes ourselves from the equation and shifts blame to people thousands of miles away. Don't get me wrong, the developers absolutely deserve to be criticized for many of the glaring problems with things like sound design, weapon balancing, economy balancing, AI behavior, and quest incentives that have essentially always been problems and remained unchanged for literally years on end. I'm not saying we should all praise BSG unquestioningly, because there's absolutely things they could do to improve the game that it seems like they just willingly won't do. But there is another factor, a pretty obvious one, but one that gets ignored a lot. We've overplayed the ever-loving hell out of this game, to an extent that I really think very, very few other games have ever seen or even had the capability to match. For my part, I've played Tarkov for a confirmed 5,000 hours. And that's just the playtime that has been recorded since they stopped resetting that stat on your profile every wipe. And this is also just on my main EOD account. I don't know about you guys, but I don't even have another game in my entire library across my PC and 8 generations of gaming consoles that I've played for over 1,000 hours, let alone multiple thousands of hours. And believe it or not, I'm on the low end of time played compared to other content creators. That 5,000 hours is less than half of some other people's playtime. Obviously, our position is a little different compared to most other gamers. We've managed to be blessed by the algorithm and created a financial incentive for ourselves to play Tarkov. We signed this deal with the devil, and it's our cross to bear. That being said, even in my group of gamer friends and from discussions with people in my community, Tarkov has a pretty unbalanced amount of playtime compared to almost any other game in their libraries. My point is that despite all of the shit that we talk about Tarkov, many of us have played it for orders of magnitude more time than literally any other game we have ever played in our lives. And you know, sometimes I think it's surprisingly easy to forget that. I challenge you to think of any other game in remotely the same genre that even has the possibility to offer that much playtime. Most games, even some of the best games ever made, struggle to keep people's attention for 6 months or a year. Most games hit the absolute upper limit of tolerable repetition at like 100 to 300 hours. And pretty much all of the games that stand the test of time beyond that do so because they were designed from the ground up to be infinitely repeatable, like procedurally generated worlds, strictly competitive experiences where the match is different every time, or MMOs that are created specifically to string out content for years and years on end. I really do think our perspective is kind of skewed a little bit when we try and say that Tarkov has fallen off over the last year while having thousands of hours of playtime. Nothing can stay fresh and new and exciting for thousands of hours. The dopamine rush inevitably fades and deja vu sets in, and then you get bored and move on to try and find a similar experience with a new twist. But the thing is, no other game comes close to doing what Tarkov does, and even the best competitors are many years away from matching the sheer scale of content and complexity that Tarkov has built up. Because of this, Tarkov is like a boomerang. You throw it away and inevitably it just comes right back into your game library. BSG's biggest crime was creating a compelling and addictive gameplay experience that offered many people hundreds or thousands of hours of entertainment. Yet we sometimes act like an angry mob that resents them for it because they're not doing it fast enough to meet our insane appetites for the game. Think about it. All they did was create a game. A game that not only provides an insane amount of entertainment without even being finished yet, but a game that single-handedly launched careers for hundreds of people making content. Tarkov is the kind of game that not only benefits from people making guides and tutorials, but it's almost a necessary part of being a Tarkov player. You're basically required to study and learn how to understand the complicated features of Tarkov, creating a wide open space for community building and the sharing of knowledge that is just not present in 99% of other games in existence. I'm not too proud to admit that I would not be where I am today on YouTube or Twitch without Tarkov. Tarkov was basically the only FPS game to come out in many years that was open ground for new up-and-coming content creators to thrive in an environment that wasn't saturated by people who were already internet famous or tied to the franchise, because it was so different to anything else that had come before it. Tarkov was a blessing for so many of us, but also a curse in some ways, because it's such an isolated community that many of us feel, whether we're right about this or not, that we're stuck to Tarkov. Like we picked our horse in the race and ended up being super glued to the saddle and stuck on whatever trajectory it follows, for better or for worse. I say this speaking from my own experience, and I know for a fact that I see other Tarkov creators express similar frustrations. It's surprisingly hard to break out of Tarkov and into content for other games, because Tarkov viewers came to our channels to learn about Tarkov, and most other FPS games are, to be frank, simplistic enough to basically not require explanation at all. So creating Tarkov content doesn't really prepare you for moving on to other FPS games, and players from those other FPS games probably aren't going to see your Tarkov content. And this fact right here, in my opinion, has ended up creating a feeling of resentment that is pretty wildly misplaced. Over the past year, I swear to God, it's become some people's entire personality to just hate on Tarkov while still playing Tarkov every day, because it's what people expect to watch, so it gets the views. How can we stand here with a straight face looking at our channels that were built off the backs of Battlestate Games and Escape from Tarkov and act like BSG really owes us anything? I'm not saying that nobody's allowed to feel burnt out on Tarkov or frustrated with the slow development. I'm not saying that we shouldn't still push for a better end result from this whole experiment, but honestly, I think we need to collectively take a step back and get some perspective. Is Tarkov really a bad game? Has it really fallen off or gone downhill? Or have we just played so goddamn much Tarkov over the past 4 years that we can't possibly be objective anymore? I see comments on my YouTube guides all the time from new players who sound absolutely thrilled to be playing Tarkov, and they're having a blast. I get people coming into my Twitch chat all the time who say they're brand new to the game and they're feeling the exact same level of addiction that we all remember from when we first started playing, when it was a new experience that we had never seen before and it felt like there was something exciting around every single corner. And you know, whenever I see these comments, I feel kind of guilty, because I know that I was that excited once, and I wish I could share that feeling with these new players. I end up feeling kind of awkward when they ask why a lot of us veterans feel so salty and unenthusiastic about the game, because I can't even explain it to them when they ask me. But on the flip side, seeing those comments also kind of gives me perspective. It makes me realize that the rumors of Tarkov's demise are kind of greatly exaggerated. Some of us can't possibly see the game objectively after playing for thousands of hours. But every day, there is someone who installs the game for the first time, gets addicted, and goes looking for a community to help them find their way in Tarkov. And I think as content creators, it's easy to forget that not everyone has played so much Tarkov that they can recite damage and penetration values back to you from memory. It's really easy to throw blame around or to just lament the fact that Tarkov isn't changing fast enough or isn't going in the direction that we personally might want. But I think as a community, it's healthy to look inwards and think about the impact that we make on the game and how we sway the discussion or set the tone of the conversation. Nobody wants to be involved in a community that is just negative all the time. And all we end up doing by being so harsh and negative towards Tarkov and the developers is basically shooting ourselves in the foot. We end up driving people away and making this community a little bit smaller every day, and nobody wins when we do that. I don't know what I want to accomplish with this video other than venting, to be honest with you. The Tarkov community has been an emotional roller coaster for months now, and I feel like looking inward and asking ourselves whether a change in perspective might be healthy for all of us is kind of an important thing to do right now. For my part, I'm on a mission to reset my Tarkov attitude to neutral and figure out how I can return to being a good representative for the game and repay the support that my community and the Tarkov community has given me over the last 3 years. I feel like I owe this community a lot, and that focusing on the negatives surrounding Tarkov all the damn time isn't the best way to repay any of you for allowing me to essentially change my life and go down a path that felt like a pipe dream even just a few years ago. I know that I helped a lot of people figure out how to enjoy Tarkov in the first place, and I'll try my best to help people figure out how to keep enjoying Tarkov, even if it's just vicariously through my videos. So on that note, thanks for checking out this video. I've got links to my Twitch stream and Discord server down below for anyone interested. And until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.